want to thank Carol Kieser for sharing her story last week. It was so great to hear another pilgrim just on her journey and just to hear how she has come out. It really did inspire me. I hope it encouraged you. If you're a person who would like to share your story, please feel free to reach out to me. I really love, and I think we can benefit a lot from each other's journeys. Obviously, I'm taking plenty of time to share mine. So, I would love to give you a voice in this if you would like to. Just email me, Maury@facingup.club, and share with me if you'd like to be considered to be a guest on the Facing Up podcast here. Today, I want to talk about something that is a bleeding edge for me, always has been, maybe always will be. It's this whole idea of love. You've seen me wrestle with this before. There now abide these three, says the Apostle Paul: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. And boy, have I ever found that to be true. My faith was shattered through just my awareness of my ignorance. So I speak about the specter in Yarus, gobbling up my faith and forcing me into this, tension and frustration. Hope is stymied by vanity, or vanitas, I call it, the second specter. And that has led me to walk through a door to gratitude and play, and I talk about that in other videos, of course. But for me, by far, the hardest specter to face has been rapax, love. Rapax, this fact that we live in a world where there is conflict, where there is tension. And how do we get around this? I am a middle child, and I want peace. I seek peace at every turn. I have been accused, justly so, of being Pollyanna-ish in my approach to things. I just want everyone to get along. I want to live in a world where we're not at each other's throats. And I'm with Rodney King. I just throw up my hands and say, why can't we all just get along? Can't we all just be reasonable here? Human history gives a pretty clear answer to that question. No, we can't. We can't. And we keep thinking, we'll come to the age of Aquarius, or this golden age when people just get beyond their tension and their conflict, and we will all join hands like in the old Coke commercial and sing, I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony, and we'll all just hug each other, big giant worldwide group hug, and everything will be okay. And I think it's normal and natural to want that, but is it coming? Why can't we all just get along? I mean, the answer seems to be pretty clearly no. And it's not just us as a species. It's not just human beings. Our whole universe is in tension. From the continental plates, which are crashing into each other, and this tension of like the subduction of what do we call this? The plate that our nation sits on, in the Pacific plate, crashing into it, going up and over it and shoving up, and there's earthquakes, and it creates these amazing mountains, the Sierras, which I, as you probably know, love so much. But the Sierras are the result of conflict. Fire and ice and volcanoes and grinding, and it's tension, and yet there's this glory in them. It's the same with the animal kingdom. We would like to, the first movie I ever saw with my wife, I took her to see Cinderella. They had a remake of the old classic, and I love that movie, Cinderella and the Handsome Prince. And the depiction of nature in that movie, though, just really sticks with me. When Cinderella is getting ready to go to the ball, all the birds help out, and they're fixing her bows on her dress, and the mice are scurrying around helping out. And it's just this picture of every living organism in harmony and trying to help each other out, and everybody just getting along. And I just love that image, that nature is this beautiful place where everything is just sort of like hey, let me help you out there, buddy. It just ain't so. A book that I love very much is Annie Dillard's Pilgrim at Tinker Creek. I've probably read it a dozen times. She has a whole chapter on bugs. And she says, you know, when you really look at what bugs do and how they're made and how they behave, there's nothing in Dante's Inferno to compare with the horrors of the bug world. She describes, for example, one bug that if you cut it in half, the head will attack the tail and be in this mortal combat. Or, you know, just take a black widow, a spider who, eats her mate, or the praying mantis who does the same thing. And I'm not a bug expert, but bugs are like creepy. I love to hike around in the foothills here in the Napa Valley, but I'm always afraid of rattlesnakes. And then there's poison oak, which gives me a horrible rash. And so, like, this idea that everything is just, like that tension is abnormal, that tension and friction is something gone awry with our universe. If that's the case, then we're just living in a cursed universe. And of course, that is the conclusion of the Christian faith, is that the world is cursed, and one day God will put it all back on in order, and the lion will lie down with the lamb, and there won't be friction, and it will just be all perfect harmony. So we can dream of a world like that, but we're not living in one because everything in this world is in tension. Now, here's a really good question. If that's the case, why is it so glorious? To use Annie Dillard's word, she's talking about the fall and how, she's gone through this season of just observing trees and animals and bugs and everything. And she's looking at all these trees, like or leaves up on a big tree. And she said, man, there's not a single leaf up there that hasn't been hacked or sawed or broken, or, they're all just mangled. And now they're falling to the ground and rotting. And she asks, I think, a beautiful question. Why doesn't it stink? Why doesn't all this carnage look and smell horrible? It doesn't. It's this earthy, beautiful smell, and its fall is glorious in all of its colors and in its dying and tension. See, when I think about the conflict in the world, in my mind, it's not a surprise that there is ugliness. That's what I would expect. I would expect a world in conflict to look like a scene from a World War II battle or something, where there's just smoking ruins everywhere. But that's not the world we live in. Somehow, in the midst of all this tension, there is beauty and there is glory. So, my point is a pretty simple one. We can't escape this. And there is somehow glory in it if we can find it. Not by getting around the tension or pretending it doesn't exist, but somehow in the tension there is glory. Now, there are a couple of ways that we work very hard to escape this tension, and there really are only two. And so they are war and love. I mean, there's two ways out, either love or war. And the idea of love is this one I was talking about, where somehow if we just did things right, everything would come together in harmony, and we would all be on the same page, and everything would live for the benefit of every other thing, and there wouldn't be all this storm and grinding and conflict, and everything would just all be in harmony, and we would all just be at peace. So we can dream of a world like that, but as I've already said, we can't ever enter one. Okay, so there's this idea, though, that if I could get everyone to agree with me, if we could all just get on the same page, then we could escape this world of conflict. Human history just shows that it's not going to happen. The other way that we try to make a world where we are all in, harmony with each other is, okay, rather than trying to hug you and bring you into my world by like inviting you in with love, I can just destroy you. So another way to create this world where there is no friction is just to destroy everything and anything that disagrees with me. War. So like if you don't fit in my world of harmony, you're out. I'll just blow you to smithereens. And that is perhaps, like when we think about like this biblical idea of heaven, it's kind of interesting that we also wind up with this idea of hell. So, okay, there's this place where every knee bows and everyone agrees that Jesus is Lord, but what about the people who don't think Jesus is Lord? Well, they don't fit. So they are cut off. They are shoved out. They are sent to an eternal separation, a place away from all this glorious, harmony and unity and everybody on the same page. My point here is that as human beings, we can't conceive of harmony without either converting people to our way of thinking or cutting them off, shoving them out. But the whole thing is misguided because the friction and the tension in our existence is not a bug. It is a feature. And at least in the world as we know it, the world that we experience as human beings, we're not going to get rid of that. Now, there is another way to respond to this, which is sadly, I think, very common, which is just to opt out, to withdraw, to detach. It's a form of non-physical suicide in a way. It's to say, it's too much work to engage in a world and all this conflict, so I'm just going to withdraw. I can withdraw to my Netflix. I can withdraw to my pan of brownies or my bag of Doritos. And if you think about it, when you're indulging in something like that, you are pure predator. You're just eating, you're just consuming, and it's all you and to hell with everything but this pan of brownies right here, right? Or this 4th or 5th or 10th episode of Netflix that just keeps going through. I've just pulled back. It's painful to engage in this world. To love and connect with other people is to enter conflict. Not even other people, to go out into the woods, like I'm hoping to do this weekend, by the way, a backpack trip. I can't wait. But to go out there is to engage in discomfort and to run into streams that ice my feet and maybe a bear out there who's going to, try to eat my food. And so to engage is conflict. So one very common response is to try to just pull back, to avoid conflict. And the problem with that is it just cuts you off. You get smaller. Your world shrinks. I feel this in my own marriage. And to share a little picture, a little window into my world with Julie, I probably could count on one hand the times in our 35 years together that I've actually yelled at her, like raised my voice and really come at her like in a loud or physical kind of way. I don't do it that way. She does, by the way. She grew up Italian. She was like, when we got married, she was like, let's fight, man. What's wrong with you? We've got a conflict. Let's fight it out. But my way was just to withdraw and to just get quiet. And, and she can do the same thing. But what I have discovered with Julie is like, that's the absolute worst. Withdrawal, pulling back. When I get cold and silent, I mean, it's obvious when this happens. She knows it. She can see it in an instant. And I can see the same thing. She's still sitting there on the couch. She's not yelling. She's not screaming, but she ain't there. And she can feel it with me as well. I mean, I might be sitting there, but the humor's gone. The spark in my eye is gone. I have cut her off. And so like she's hurt me, there's some offense, there's some friction, and rather than engaging with her and figuring out how do we connect in the midst of this friction, rather than do that hard work and engage, I just pull back and I chicken out. I just it's kind of it's kind of a suicide to the marriage. It's a suicide even to myself because I'm withdrawing from my reality, my world that I live in, where there is friction, where there is conflict. Paul, of course, in his writings uses the analogy of the body and says the church is like a body, and you wouldn't cut off your finger because it hurt. You would try to figure out how to fix it. Yeah, it's like so you wouldn't cut things off. You understand that where there is tension and friction, your goal is not to hate. You don't hate your finger if it hurts. You try to heal it. You recognize and you live with the pain and you try to mend that and figure out how to bring it back into balance with the rest of the body. The issue I would have with Paul is that, of course, the limit of his body would be believers in Jesus, and I would like my family to be the whole human race and all of creation for that matter. I don't want to cut anything off or anyone off. I want to connect as widely as I possibly can. To apply this in another way, if you look at politics today, it's pretty obvious that it's war right now. We are polarized. Our solution to the friction that we feel is to blow up the other side, whichever side you're on. I mean, it's like those guys just have to go. And so instead of looking for a healing solution, figuring out how to live in tension with each other, our solution is to obliterate the other side so that we, the good people, can live in our little utopia. But have you ever noticed what happens when you do create your little utopia? It's not long before there's a crack in your utopia and you have to shove other people away. Again, it just doesn't work to try to blow up the bad people so that you can live in this idyllic world. I have found the 3 breaths to be so helpful, and I actually practice the 3rd breath. I just inhale compassion, exhale connection. I do this like literally when I feel my anger, my inner Pharisee rising up, and I just want to cut somebody off. I literally will stop and go compassion, connection. Like, okay, the answer is not to blow this person up. The answer is not to cut them off or to withdraw or any of that. I need to understand they're like me. We're all in this together. We're all trying to do the best we can. We've got our own backgrounds and ways of dealing with it, some of which are not healthy, but I got unhealthy stuff too. So how do we heal this? How do I connect? Compassion, connection. For me, that's been helpful, and I don't like to make a big deal out of this. I just do it quietly, but I actually literally do this when I feel this friction, whether it's at work, in marriage, whatever. I just go compassion. I remind myself that's the goal. One last application, and this is kind of a confession. This is a personal confession. I am afraid to press forward with facing up. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. And there are steps very clear that I know I am supposed to take to move forward with this journey of facing up in what I'm supposed to be and do with my life. And you may be the same. There may be things in your life that you know you're supposed to do. You were made to do, that are so you. And when you don't do those things, you just feel like, I'm kind of blowing it. I'm not really being my authentic self. I'm not living my authentic life. And so if you feel that as I do, one word for this friction or this barrier that we run into when we try to live our authentic life is resistance. Stephen Pressfield wrote a book called The War of Art. Obviously, a play on the art of war, right? But the war of art, and his point in the book is a pretty simple one, which is every artist faces this. Every human faces this. When we set out to do the thing that we know we're supposed to do, we run into this resistance, and it we'll do anything except do what we're supposed to do. All kinds of distractions, and but we avoid this thing. And I'm okay. So I've felt this in my own journey, and then in this my own inner certainty that I know the steps I need to take with facing up, and I keep avoiding them. Why do I do that? Well, here's where it ties into this, what I'm talking about today. What I've realized is that the fear that I'm experiencing is a fear of connection. I know that if I express myself, if I really fully allow myself to be and do what I was made to be and do, I'll have to connect with people. And to be honest, I have enjoyed stepping back from ministry, stepping out of the fray, being kind of like invisible, just sort of me talking to my camera. Very safe. My camera never talks back to me. Most of you don't write back to me. A few of you have said things, but for the most part, I can just speak into the air. It's totally safe. But to actually engage, to actually share with people and engage with them, I've realized, like, wow, that will be some friction. That will be some conflict. That will force me to re-enter the fray. And there's a part of me that just wants to chicken out. But I can't chicken out. To connect is to suffer. To be myself in this world authentically is to suffer, is to experience friction and tension. And just as with all of the specters, the darkness is a door. And I know this is true, that if I will look at Rawpox, if I will face the reality of this tension, and instead of trying to make it go away or hide from it, or if I embrace this and say, okay, this tension is a part of my world and will be a part of everything I do, it opens the door to a meaningful, authentic existence with other people and with my world that I am longing for, that I really want deep down, but is scary because it's going to mean some of this engagement with other people. And people are exhausting. people can be so frustrating, and it's just so tempting to be like my situation with Julie on the couch. That's my sort of the way I treat life. I just withdraw. I just sort of, the spark goes out. I sit there. I'm safe in my little cocoon. The Simon and Garfunkel, I am a rock thing. A rock feels no pain, and an island never cries. I'm just sitting there. I have my books and my poetry to protect me. I am shielded in my armor. I'm sorry for the horrible singing, but you get it. I mean, that song just epitomizes what I'm talking about. This temptation to just withdraw, and I feel that. I've enjoyed being a rock and an island, but it's just cold and dead. So I'm trying to figure out how to live with you, with this world, fully engaged and in tension. Knowing that this side of eternity, the lion will never lie down with the lamb. I mean, there may be some beatific world in some, I don't know, but I just know that this life that I have right now, the lion's the lion, and the lion wants to eat the lamb. As long as they each retain their nature, there will be conflict. And I'm looking for this way to be together in the midst of that. And it can be glorious. Because again, the really crazy thing is that in the midst of all this tension, that's where the glory lies. And for me, the way to engage, the words that I use are compassion and connection. It's not denying the conflict or the strife, but it's just having compassion for everyone and everything that's in this with me and looking for ways to connect in meaningful ways. Obviously, I'm going to look out for myself just as you're going to look out for you. We're all going to look out for ourselves, but we don't have to go to war. We can find ways to harmonize, to be ourselves together, and that's what I'm looking for. This way to connect with other people that expands our world without denying that there will always be tension. So I'm in it. I'm in it with you, living in this tension, partaking in the glory, living my life facing up.